Hey everyone, it's Andrew Fazekas, the Night Sky Guy, here with you on a watch party, a very special one for the Artemis 1 mission. Here we are, finally. Oh my gosh, I've been waiting, and I'm sure all of us have been just watching the feeds and seeing when they're going to resume countdown. When is this going to launch? Could this be it? I'm hoping. I think we're all hoping. Countdown clocks have been resumed. The NASA looks like they're about to begin. So let's tune in, see what this view is like. Here we are. Let's see. Trying to get, there we go. And so we're going to listen in.
Configuring ground systems for power transfer to the rocket.
Love to hear where you all watching from, wherever you are around the world. This is
GLS
really
is turning on cameras, recording video inside and outside the crew module to collect data for engineers.
It's actually going to happen now.
Purging the aft skirt booster with high flow nitrogen. Clear out any hydrogen gas that may be there.
Now, some of the things that we're going to be watching for, I just wanted to show you here. There's the launch. You can see in this graphic what's going to happen, how it should unfold over the next few minutes. Once it's around 7 minutes, it's supposed to be launching. You can see that in 7 seconds after launch, it's going to reach an altitude of 562 meters in 7 seconds. By 1 minute, it's reaching a speed of over 1,000 miles per hour, and it's going to be at 42,000 feet in altitude. This is going to really happen fast. Within minutes, it will reach orbit. And this mission is destined, uncrewed of course, to go to the moon in a few days.
Now coming up in less than 30 seconds, the ground launch sequencer will start bringing the high energy systems online. Starting with core stage pressurization
ever to travel beyond the moon. It's just going to be really amazing to see. 6 minutes, just over 6 minutes to launch this mega rocket, the largest rocket
completely silent.
Bigger than even the Saturn V rocket that took us to the
GLS
moon
go for core stage tank pressurization.
5 decades ago.
The core stage tank is now pressurizing to flight levels. The replenish valve to the liquid hydrogen tank now closing.
Louisiana, nice of you to join us. It's
the liquid oxygen tank will come a little later.
1:45 almost.
Now we're arming the Orion Ascent pyros
from Montreal.
And transfer to internal power.
I'm so happy we could join together to watch this as a watch party. I love having one of these.
The launch abort system, or LAS jettison motor, is now armed. On this flight, the abort motor is inactive because there is no crew on board. Up next is the flight termination system, or FTS, which gives the Space Force the ability to destruct the rocket if it goes in the wrong direction. Let's listen in for that.
GLS is go for FTS arm.
The flight termination system is now armed. Coming up at 4 minutes and 40 seconds, a big moment. This is where the RS-25 engines and their bleed go to high flow. It's been a little tricky to dial in.
Love seeing you guys here.
GLS
so
go
nice
for LH2 high flow bleed check.
Here in Montreal, it's like under freezing and looks like we're going to get snow.
Good word, we've passed that. The cryo team got the LH2 engine bleed pressure loop dialed in. They are now at the right temperature for launch. Countdown continues. T-minus 4 minutes, 15 seconds. Up next, GLS fires up the KPUs. Those are high-speed turbines which provide pressure to hydraulic pumps that steer the RS-25s. Stands for Core Stage Auxiliary Power Unit Start.
You can see the Orion spacecraft
GLS
way
go
at the
for
top
core stage
there.
APU start.
That's where potentially
That now leads to
follow-up
the
mission,
thrust vector
an
control
Artemis 2
test
mission. That's
at
where the
T-minus
crew
2
will
minutes
be.
and 30 seconds. That can proceed now, and we will see the engines gimbal at the bottom of the core stage.
Hey, Diane. Nice of you to join us. Ooh, 42 degrees in Baton
At T-minus
Rouge.
3 minutes and
Oof.
10 seconds, you will hear the go for
Really?
purge sequence 4. That's a helium purge of the 4 core stage engines downstream of the propellant valve, getting the air and moisture out.
So they're basically talking about the plumbing in the rocket and getting everything all ready. The fuel
GLS go
is
for purge sequence
really
4.
super cooled.
And in
they
just a
have to
few seconds,
maintain
GLS
that.
will close the core stage LOX vent, liquid oxygen. The white vapor cloud caused from the super cold gaseous oxygen condensing the water in the atmosphere will disappear. You see it coming out there now. And there it goes, it's closed. LOX vent closed, pressure rising in the core stage LOX
Pressure's
tank
rising.
to flight levels.
There we go.
Coming
They're
up
really getting
in
ready.
15 seconds, look for that thrust vector control actuator test. Engines will
John.
gimbal.
I see you join. Crossing fingers. So do you
And
guys
there
think
they
this
go.
is going to happen? You think
The
we're going
four
to actually
core
lift
stage
off?
RS-25 engines gimbaling
Oh,
around,
look at that.
testing the
nozzles are
ability to steer the
getting
rocket
in
into
position.
space. They will operate at 109% performance. Each RS-25 throwing down 500,000 pounds of thrust. All four, 2 million pounds. Altogether with the boosters, 8.8 million pounds of thrust.
GLS go for upper
2
stage to
million
internal power.
pounds
Now
of
the
thrust
upper
with the
stage has
bottom
gone to
engines
internal
there.
power. So power is removed from the rocket's upper stage, the ICPS, and it's been switched to battery power. The same milestone is coming up for the core stage
Hey, Alan,
at
nice of you to
T-minus
join.
1 minute and 30 seconds.
For you, it's actually a more reasonable time, isn't it, Alan? For me, it's almost 2 a.m. Oh my gosh.
GLS go for core
I
stage
love
to
these late
internal
night
power.
launches. They're just so
The
much
rocket's
fun
core stage,
to see
which
them in the
houses
dark.
the
They're
3
very
flight computers,
spectacular to
is
see
now on
rockets go
battery
up
power.
at night.
So there is no more hold time available because there's no more margin on the batteries. So if we have a hold, we'd have to recycle back to T-minus 10 minutes and recharge those batteries. The count continues. A note now,
Hey, David.
shortly after liftoff.
1 minute.
Shortly after liftoff, Mission Control Houston will take control of the rocket, and my colleague, Leah Cheshire, will take over commentary. T-minus 50 seconds and counting. Coming up at T-minus 33 seconds, the GLS will hand off control to the ALS. This is the autonomous launch sequencer. On board the rocket, it will take over command and control of the rocket. But the ALS will check, make sure there's no holds coming from the ground up until T-minus 2
GLS
seconds.
is go for ALS.
And we are go for ALS. The Space Launch System is now counting down to liftoff of Orion on its maiden voyage to the moon.
All right, this is it, guys.
Launch team can no
20.
longer recycle the count. Sound suppressor water now flowing
15.
under the ML. And here we go.
10.
Hydrogen
GLS
burn-off
go for
igniters
This is
initiated.
it.
7, 6,
Look at the coolant
5,
water.
4-stage engine start.
Oh yeah, look at the
3,
engines.
2,
Here we go.
1. Boosters in ignition. And liftoff of Artemis 1.
Yes.
We rise together
Yes.
back to the moon and beyond.
Yes, yes, yes. Here we go, guys. Here we go. Gaining speed quickly.
All 4 RS-25 engines on the core stage and 2 solid rocket boosters now propelling the vehicle at 128 miles per hour.
128 miles per hour. And that speed's going to go up real fast to
Hearing
1,000.
good control
within a
on the
minute.
roll from teams in Mission Control Houston. All good calls so far. Now 30 seconds into the flight of Artemis 1. First milestone will be for the vehicle to pass through max Q at about 1 minute and 9 seconds into launch. This is the greatest period of atmospheric force on the rocket.
Agreed, Diane. It's freaking amazing. I can't believe we're doing it. Oh, I hope this goes.
SLS now traveling 607 miles per hour.
There you go. 607 miles per hour already. The speed. Look how fast within just seconds.
You're looking at 8.8 million pounds of maximum thrust. Quiet here. seconds into the flight, traveling at 1,420 miles per hour.
Over 1,000 miles
The
per
four
hour
core stage
already.
engines are back at maximum thrust.
This is the most dangerous part, really. This is
The next
when
major milestone will be
it's under
for
the most
the
pressure,
solid rocket boosters
the
to cut
rocket.
off and jettison at about 2 minutes and 11 seconds into the flight, so about 30 seconds from now. Again, quiet here in Mission Control Houston as teams continue monitoring the flight of Artemis 1. We're now 16 miles downrange from the launch pad at Kennedy Space Center, traveling over 2,800 miles per hour.
I'm wondering if my friends across Central Florida, their coastline, has
Standing
been
by
able
for
to
solid
see
rocket booster
this
jettison and
launch.
shortly
The
thereafter.
first 70 seconds is visible, probably for a lot of people around Central Florida. There goes the booster
Confirmation
rockets.
that the solid rocket boosters have separated these 177-foot boosters. Now the core stage continues to power the flight of Orion, all four RS-25 engines firing, traveling over 3,400 miles per hour, 46 miles downrange.
Now these boosters aren't like SpaceX's, they don't return. They're
2
just
minutes
a
and
one-shot
36
deal.
seconds into the flight.
They fall back
Hearing
to
nominal calls here in Mission Control
into
Houston.
the water off the coast of Florida.
We've still got 4 good engines on the core stage. Next up, we'll be looking for the service module fairing to separate. This is 3 15 by 15-foot fairing panels, providing structural support, protecting the service module. Those will separate at about 3 minutes and 11 seconds into flight, and very shortly thereafter will be followed by the launch abort system separation.
You can see that here we're already up in the top part of this diagram.
We just had confirmation that the service module fairing has separated.
Oh, these onboard cameras, love it. This is where the come on.
And that the launch abort system pyros have fired, separating those from Orion as well. For future crew members.
Seems like the audio went off for the mic.
We just heard the call for 3-engine press, meaning if SLS were to lose an engine at this point in the mission, we could still achieve a nominal mission. We would just have an extended main engine cutoff time. However, we still have 4 good engines, all at maximum thrust right now, powering the first flight of Artemis at 5,200 miles per hour, 148 miles downrange.
Over 5,000 miles per hour already. Unbelievable. Okay, we're 4 minutes after launch already. So we haven't reached orbit yet.
We're 4 minutes and 16 seconds into the flight of Artemis 1. So far, we've had a clean ascent. We saw those solid rocket boosters jettison about 2 minutes and 11 seconds after liftoff. Shortly after, we had the service module panels fairings separate, as well as the launch abort system. The launch abort system was inert for this flight, except to perform this separation. Those 4 core stage engines will continue to fire and power the flight of Artemis 1, now traveling over 6,800 miles per hour, 229 miles downrange.
6,000
Booster flight controller reports that the engines are looking good.
That's great. The engines are working, so pushing it forward. All right, this is really good.
Our core stage main engine cutoff time is about 8 minutes and 3 seconds. We are now at 5 minutes and 11 seconds into the flight, 7,656 miles per hour. Again, 4 good core stage engines, those 4 RS-25 engines. The last time those core stage engines flew, they were taking space shuttles to orbit, and now with upgraded capabilities, they're launching the future of human spaceflight.
So that's very interesting what we just heard. These engines that are at the bottom of the rockets,
5 minutes, 42 seconds into the mission. We are now traveling 8,800 miles per hour, 345 miles downrange from the launch pad at Kennedy Space Center.
A time saver, and also, you know, in terms of money as well.
Again, we are anticipating core stage main engine cutoff at about 8 minutes and 3 seconds. And about 10 seconds later, we'll see core stage separation, at which point Orion and the interim cryogenic propulsion stage will be flying free.
But that's why it looks so familiar, right? With those
Now
booster
traveling
rockets
over
we saw on the
10,000
launch,
miles per
very much
hour,
like the
6
shuttle
minutes and
launch
15
system.
seconds into the flight of Artemis 1, 427 miles downrange. Quiet here on the loops in Mission Control Houston. Teams continue to monitor this first flight. About a minute and a half now until that core stage main engine cutoff time. Our 4 core stage engines continue to fire maximum thrust.
So those 4 engines at the bottom on the left side of this animation are what are going to be cutting out soon. And you'll see the top part of the rocket kind of detach. So the first stage
coming up on 7 minutes since launch today, now traveling over 12,800 miles per hour, 563 miles downrange. Again, still quiet here in Mission Control Houston.
Yes, Heidi, hooray. Finally
As we
launched.
prepare for main engine cutoff, the 4 RS-25 engines are beginning to throttle down.
Main engine cutoff is going to happen. Yeah, those are those 4 big engines on the left, the ones that we were talking about, those rejigged
30 seconds now
the
until
Space
core
Shuttle
stage main
program.
engine cutoff. All 4 engines continue to throttle down. Now 7 minutes 45 seconds into the flight, traveling over 16,000 miles per hour. Continuing to hear good calls here in Mission Control Houston. We're standing by for core stage main engine cutoff.
Main engine cutoff is coming. You can see the timeline at the bottom of the screen there. Miko, that's the main engine
And we have
cutoff.
confirmation of core stage main engine cutoff. Orion is now in Earth's orbit.
There we go. We're
The
in
flight
Earth
dynamics
orbit.
officer reports that we have a nominal main engine cutoff. And we just heard the call for core stage separation. That means Orion and the interim cryogenic propulsion stage are now flying free from the core stage of the Space Launch System. The next milestone will be solar array deploy approximately 18 minutes after liftoff. But before Orion stretches its wings, let's check back in with our friends at Kennedy Space Center and hear all about what it was like to hear the rocket roar off the launch pad. Megan and Kayla, I've got to hear all about it.
Well, if you're just joining us, welcome to NASA's Kennedy Space Center, where we just watched Artemis 1 launch, our first step towards our next adventure into deep space. As Leah said, I'm NASA's Megan Cruz, and this is NASA astronaut Kayla Barron. And I'm kind of still giddy and speechless. I don't even know how to explain how I'm feeling right now.
I feel the same way. This is the first launch that I've been able to watch in person. And I've got to say, it was incredible. It took my breath away and I was tearing up. Just what an amazing accomplishment for this team, this international team, people who have been dedicating their careers to getting this rocket off the ground and taking the first step to getting a crew on that vehicle back to the moon. It was just incredible.
Yeah, this is a moment I think that we're all going to remember where we were when we saw this sort of thing, you know what I mean? And it was great to see, again,
Ground shook. We could hear the thrust pushing that rocket into space. 8.8 million pounds of thrust.
Yes.
It's incredible. It was amazing to see here live in person.
How does it compare? So this is your first launch on the ground. How does it compare to your launch when you're in the capsule soaring towards space?
I mean, equally emotional, I think.
Yeah.
We train for everything, and so when we're in that capsule waiting for launch, we're just running our procedures. You could almost trick us and say that we were in the simulator and it wasn't real. But like in that moment of liftoff, when the thrust builds underneath you, like we saw it today, it's just hard not to be overwhelmed by the emotional experience, the excitement, the joy of that moment. It's incredible.
Yeah, I think we can't say it enough. This team really deserved this moment. They've been working so hard for this moment. When I heard that we got into terminal count, it was, I felt a sense of relief and excitement for them that I think everybody here did. You know, we really wanted them to succeed. We really wanted to see the launch today. And wow, I will never forget this.
Me neither. It was an incredible experience to be here and see that happen.
Yeah. Was there anything that was particularly surprising to you? Again, this is your first launch. You know, what were you expecting?
You know, I think we also had a nighttime launch for our launch. And so I think one thing you underestimate is how much it lights up the night sky.
Yes.
We were able to watch it all the way through that trajectory. We were able to see the boosters separate and everything. So it was just an incredible view. It's amazing how much you get to see of the flight path when it's at night and sliding up the sky.
Yeah, and I don't know if you noticed this, but we see the moon here, and the trajectory of the rocket looked like it was flying towards me. You know what I mean? I was like, oh my God, that's so poetic. It's so beautiful. I'm so glad we launched today.
Yeah.
Wow.
Congratulations
absolutely.
to the team. It's incredible.
We're going to head over to Daryl, who was at the launch team. Daryl, you got to count us down through that, through liftoff. I mean, how was that being in the launch control center with them?
Well, Megan, it was something else. I got to tell you, you're looking live inside the firing room where Charlie Blackwell-Thompson is about to address her team after a whole lot of hard work and preparation to get to this moment. Let's stand by and listen to her now.
Comm check. But you can't hear it in the room. Can you guys hear me? No. Hey, Jeremy,
Well, we made it. We're in orbit. And we're going to see how far this goes. There's going to be really interesting milestones coming. You can see in this map what will be happening over the course of the next few hours, days, and weeks. I can hardly wait. You know what I'm waiting for, guys? I am waiting to see images of the moon close up, Earth getting smaller as we get farther away from Earth. Those views from inside the capsule, views of the moon approaching, and then of course when we'll be farther away than the moon, even that'll be really exciting to see the moon and maybe an Earthrise, perhaps. I don't know. We'll have to see some really, really cool footage, I'm sure. And I'm going to be with you along the way. Thanks for joining me today. This was fantastic. I can't believe we actually launched it. I was kind of skeptical with all the delays, but we did it. Yeah, humanity's going back to the moon. Of course, this is an uncrewed mission, but this is critical step for Artemis 2 and 3, which will be carrying humans. Artemis 2, maybe in a year and a half from now, or 2 years from now, depending on what the delays, we'll see. But that'll be the first crewed mission that'll go around the moon. And then Artemis 3, maybe in the year 2025, in 3 years from now, will be the first crewed mission to land on the moon, and that'll be in the South Pole, where we'll be going, someplace we've never been before. So really exciting stuff. I'm so glad you could join me today for this little late night watch party here on the East Coast of North America. I'll put a link to NASA TV if you want to continue watching. I will be watching for a little while as well. I want to see those solar panels open up. That'll be interesting, and I'm waiting to see some more footage of this nighttime launch that probably NASA will be releasing later today. So stay tuned for more updates. Thanks so much for tuning in with me. I really appreciate you sticking with me in the late into the night, and I'll see you on the next video. If you like this live stream and you want to see more watch parties, give me a thumbs up, and please do subscribe to my channel. I love seeing you guys here. Thanks so much, and good night or good morning wherever you are around the world. Until next time, bye-bye.